Welcome to the Chapter 3 test review video. This is covering the percent equation and various forms of problems we see with the percent equation. The first, Miss Deliotis goes to Olive Garden and has fantastic service. Her meal comes out to $20. She wants to give a 25% tip. How much of a tip should she give? Okay, so going to Olive Garden, fantastic service. Her meal comes out to $20. She wants to give a 25% tip, and we're trying to figure out how much of a tip she should give. So like always, I'm going to start by writing my percent equation. Part equals the percent times the whole. The percent is normally the easiest to spot. Our percent is 25%. So we're giving a 25% tip. And then our whole is what that percent is taking of. Right, it's 25% of what? It's 25% of the meal. Our whole are $20. So that's our whole, it's our original cost. Our whole is $20. And we're trying to find the part. The part in this case is really that tip. We're always going to find the amount of a tip, the amount of a tax, the amount of a commission, anything like that. When it's percent times something, that's going to give us our part piece. So our tip is 25% of multiplication times 20. Whenever we're trying to find the part, we just multiply the numbers because that's what it's set up for us. The tip is equal to 25% times 20. So 25% is 0.25. And I can multiply those. We're going to do that by hand. Okay, because this is an important skill to be able to do that by hand. So 20 times 0.25. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Then I'm going to the next row, so I'm going to put a 0 here. 2 times 0 is 0. And 2 times 2 is 4. Add that up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 is 0. And 1 plus 4 is 5. Then finally, I see that there are two decimal places after my dot, after my point. So that means I move the point over 2, and I get $5 is the amount of a tip I should leave. That is my part. Okay, so I get my tip is $5. And this question, that's actually our final answer. How much of a tip should she give? She should give $5. 7% tax on food ordered at a restaurant in Pennsylvania. Miss Deliotis ordered her favorite food from Chinatown, and her meal came out to $12. How much will Miss Deliotis pay after the 7% tax is added? So this is a super similar question. We have a 7% tax. We have a $12 cost of the food, and that's going to give us both our part and our whole. So I'll write my equation. Part equals the percent times whole. The percent is 7%. That's getting added. The whole is like the subtotal, the cost of the food. That's 12. We're taking 7% of that. We're taking 7% of our $12. So we know that's we're multiplying the percent times the whole. And that's going to give us our part, which in this case is the amount of the tax that we're adding. So we're going to do the exact same thing we just did. 7% is 0.07 times 12. We do 12 times 0.07. 7 times 2 is 14. Put the 4, carry the 1. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus 1, we get 8. And then we can add the 0 down here. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. So when we add it up, we're going to get 84 before we move the decimal place over 2. So we actually end up with $0.84 is the tax. Our tax is $0.84. Now this question though doesn't say what is the tax. It says how much will Miss Deliotis pay after that 7% tax is added. So to find the total amount that I'm paying, I'm I'm going to add my original subtotal cost, that whole, of $12, plus the $0.84. And that's going to give me $12.84, which is the final amount that I pay. So there's the cost of the food, which came out to 12, plus the 7% tax, which ended up being 84 cents. So in total, I paid $12.84. Okay, so for this problem, it says last month Miss Iliotis had 100 followers on her @MissIliotis Instagram account. Now she has 110. What was her increase in Instagram followers from last month to this month? So this is a percent change question, but we do the same kind of stuff. Part equals percent times whole, but for these, we think of our part as the change, the amount of the change. And then we have the percent, or the percent change. And then our whole is always that original amount. So our original amount here was I started with 100 Instagram followers. The percent change is what I'm trying to figure out, the percent of the increase. So then to find the change, that's the amount of the change. So I started with 100, I ended up at 110. So that's a change of 10. We can subtract if we need to. 110 minus 100 is 10. Or you start at 100, you count up, you get to 110. There's a difference of 10. So my change or my difference there is 10. And then to find the percent change, this is a situation if I find the percent, that's always when I divide. Because this is saying what percent of 100 equals 10. So to find that percent, I can divide. Right? I can undo this multiplication and divide. So whenever I'm trying to find that percent, or if I was trying to find the whole, that's when I would divide. So I'm going to do 10 divided by 100. That's equal to the percent change. 10 over 100, or 10 divided by 100, that's equal to 1/10, or 0.1. That's 1/10, or 0.1. So if I have 0.1, that's my percent change, but that's in my decimal form, and I need to turn it into my percent form. To go from a decimal to a percent, I multiply by 100, or I move the decimal place over 2. So 0.1 is equal to 10%. A 10% increase. 10% increase in my number of Instagram followers. All right, so here we have a pretty straightforward one. 3 is 25% of what? So 25% is obviously going to go in my 25%, in my percent box. Then we just need to pay attention to the wording, right? It's 25% of what? So we're taking 25% of, remember that's always telling us that's like multiply, of what? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So that's going to fill in our whole. That's what we're trying to figure out. 25% of what value? Of our whole. And that is equal to, remember, is means equal to in math, 3. So our part is 3. So if we take 25% of some number, we're going to get 3. And we need to figure out what that whole is. To solve these, this is very important, we divide when we're trying to find the whole. We divide. Why do we divide? Well, if we have 25% of something, 25% multiplied by a whole, to figure out what that whole is, we have to undo that multiplication by 25%. So we have to divide. We have to do the opposite of multiplication. So we're going to end up doing 3 divided by 0.25. And that's going to equal my whole. Right, and when we do that, we're going to get 12 as my whole. And that checks out. Then that means that if we take 25% of 12, we should get 3. And that is the case. So when we fill this in, our what is 12. 3 is equal to 25% of 12. Okay, and here we have a percent change question. So a bookstore buys a book for $4. Then it marks up the book 50% to make a profit. What's the markup amount and what was the final cost of the book? So we're doing markups, right? So our markup amount, that's always going to be our part. Our percent is how much we're marking it up by, or our percent markup, which is 50%. And then our whole is that original cost of the item, the original cost. In this case, they tell us that's $4. So then we can take 50% times 4 to figure out what the markup amount is. But that's one of the things they're asking us. What's the markup amount? 50%, that's the same thing as 0.5 times 4. We need to do that to the side. 0.5 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20, and then we have one decimal place, so it's going to be 2, or 2.0. So if the store is marking up a $4 book 50%, then they're marking it up $2. They're increasing the price by $2. So that is my markup amount. However, it's not the final cost of the book. The final cost of the book is what I get when I add the original cost of the book, that whole, $4, plus the markup amount, $2. And then I get my final total cost of the book of $6. So again here, the markup is my part, my percent is my percent markup, my percent change, and then the whole is what I start with, my original is 4. And I just do the same kind of